Hey guys, it's good to be back with you. Over the past 90 days or so, I've just been doing a ton of deep work on different security token investments, basically doing a lot of due diligence and research on the different security token platforms and assets that have been launched on these platforms. And so in today's episode, I want to kind of catch you guys up with everything I've been doing so far this year and show you my first security token investment and also talk a little bit about that landscape and where we've come since last year. So before we dive in, just a couple of quick disclaimers. As you guys know, I'm not a financial advisor, so please don't go and buy or sell anything based on what I talk about in this video. Also, I haven't been paid by any of these companies to talk about them. I'm actually investing my own capital, and I don't trade for anybody else or manage anybody else's money. So I am putting my own money on the line here. Also, be smart, guys. Don't trade or invest with money that you can't afford to lose. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And as I said last year, I am really excited about security tokens. I think this is the future of finance. I think this is going to be much more sustainable than the ICO boom that we had in 2017. And if you're not familiar with security tokens or you haven't seen my basics video on what security tokens are all about, I'll link that up in the description, and I highly recommend watching that first so you have an idea of what security tokens are and where they're going. Now, with that said, I just want to talk about where we are so far in 2019 and kind of some predictions for the near future. And just some initial thoughts. I wrote down some notes here. This is a slow-moving space, so there's no reason to FOMO and think that you have to just make all these investments and just throw money at this. I know that mentality was really prevalent back in the ICO boom of 2017, but we're just in the infancy stages of this whole security token movement, and I do think it's going to be the biggest thing since publicly traded stocks. Now, the problem, and I want to address this right up front because it's something that quite frankly pisses me off and I think is ridiculous. The biggest hindrance to security tokens, in my opinion, and again, this is my personal opinion, is that the liquidity right now, meaning the transactions, the volume of trading that's happening of security tokens is super low right now because it's restricted to accredited investors. So basically, if you're not a millionaire, you don't have access to a lot of these security tokens. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you some platforms that if you're not an accredited investor, you can get access to. But over the past several months, some of the best deals that I've been doing due diligence on are restricted to accredited investors. And this is something, again, I just want to talk about up front because I don't think it's right. I think it's lazy regulation. I get why it was put in place. It was put in place to try to protect investors, but what it's doing is just making the problem worse of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So now that I've got that gripe out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into these deals. And the first thing I want to take a look at here is the total market cap chart. So basically, this is looking at all of the cryptocurrencies that are listed on exchanges and putting them all on one chart. And so what you can see here is the bull market. If we look back at 2016 and 17, again, this is including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of the other altcoins. And what happened is in late 2017, we had the bubble, which has now popped, right? And we are back near accumulation lows, meaning we've had a really, really deep pullback on a percentage basis, and prices hovering around pre-bubble prices, right? So right now we're down, call it 85% off of the highs. And what happened is during this time period, there were a lot of ICO projects, basically unregulated tokens that raised a ton of money. A lot of them were scams. A lot of them are legitimately trying to do business, but will eventually fail just because, again, that's how startups go. 90% or more of startups fail. And here we are today, coming off of the longest bear trend in Bitcoin's history, right? And as the market cycles mature, they get longer, as I've talked about in my 5 phases video. But basically, why I'm showing you this now is this is where I get excited. I actually like bear markets for a couple of reasons. Number one, bear markets are where I go into accumulation mode, where I start to buy again, right? Like I'm not buying up here when people are going nuts for it. I want to buy Bitcoin and or other cryptocurrencies when prices are in the gutter and when the media is trashing Bitcoin, right? This has been my MO since 2013. Now, the other reason is in bear markets, a lot of the tourists and people just looking to get rich quick, they leave, right? They get pissed off, they lose money, and they're out of here, right? And also, there's more time to focus on things that actually matter, right? Like real projects. So I think right now, in the hype cycle, we're in what's called the trough of delusionment, where prices are low, people are kind of, depressed when they look at the price, right? If they're emotionally investing. But this is where I get excited. And right now, we're seeing real development, right? So I've been taking the past few months looking at a lot of these security token deals. And again, I think the next market cycle is going to be driven by this. So with that said, knowing the kind of the broader context of where we are in today's market, what's my first investment? Well, my first security token investment is T0. Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know what T0 is, it is one of the first security token exchanges, right? So this is where if you have a security token, you can list it on this exchange and you can buy and sell. And one of the biggest thing with these security token exchanges, one of their goals is they're looking to build in and automate regulation into the security tokens themselves. Meaning, when you buy and sell, the goal with security tokens is to basically check things like accredited investor verification or maximum allowable investors in a deal period, or lockup periods, things like that, right? So T0 is one of the leaders in this space. And they did an ICO last year and raised $134 million, I believe. And I actually did not invest in the ICO because I don't like investing in projects that raise a ton of money, in my opinion, too much money up front without proof of concept, right? So these tokens, the T0 tokens, initially sold for $10, right? And right now, as of the time of this video, they've traded, I've seen as little as like in the $2 range, and right now they're trading in the $3 range. And so I've started to step in now and start to accumulate these tokens because they are 70 to 80% off of the ICO price. Now, as of right now, I'm just taking a small initial starter position in T0. And the reason why is I've spent, like I said, several months doing fundamental research and due diligence on this. And even though I see some really big potential upside at this moment in time, I also see some really big potential risks, right? There's a connection between overstock and T0, and I'm not going to go into too much detail for the sake of time in this video. But the reason why I invested in T0 specifically is I love exchanges as an investment because exchanges are cash cows, right? If you look at Binance or Coinbase or BitMEX or any of these large crypto exchanges, they never lose. Guys, they get a slice of the pie every single day just taking, transaction fees, right? So I love exchanges just as a category, and T0 being one of the initial entrants into the security token space, I'm interested really in all companies that are supporting or creating the infrastructure for security tokens. But again, a lot of the early companies raised a ton of money in 2017 and 18 at really stupid prices. And that's when I get fearful. Whenever I see the general public just throwing money at projects without really giving a damn what they're investing in, that's when I get fearful. That's why I didn't go crazy investing in a bunch of ICOs then. But now that prices are on sale, now I can begin to accumulate and show some interest, right? Again, it's just like Bitcoin 2013 or Bitcoin 2015 or altcoins early 2016, right? It's all about timing. And for me, I just think this isn't financial advice. I don't have any connection to T0. I'm putting my own money on the line here. I'm just explaining my thought. And I want to help you learn how to look at these deals and also just understand my thought process and what I'm excited about in this space. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some other potential investments and different platforms, and I'll kind of get you up to speed with what I've been looking at so far. Now, the next platform that I want to take a look at and talk about a potential investment is Harbor. And Harbor was the first company to basically tokenize a real estate deal. And as of right now, there's only one real estate deal offered on their platform, which is a student housing deal in South Carolina. And I spent about a week looking at this deal and decided that it wasn't a good investment for me. It's one of those kind of low risk, low reward investments. So it's basically an established student housing, luxury student housing at Columbia University. And it's got decent cap rates, but again, I don't want to make 5 to 7% on something. I have a portion of my portfolio that is basically earmarked for real estate type returns. And something like this, where there's the risk of tokenization, and it's just, the cap rates aren't all that exciting for me. I just decided to pass on this, and it's also been kind of an exercise in discipline for me, because my initial thought when these security tokens started to launch was, oh yeah, let me just throw a little bit of money at a lot of deals. And I just think the shotgun approach works well when all tides are rising. But right now, with crypto being in kind of an extended bear market, I'm much more conservative. So I'm looking to invest larger amounts in fewer deals. That's just my methodology right now. So with that said, I'm excited about Harbor. I think they're doing a good job of tokenizing real estate stuff. But as of right now, again, we're still in the infancy stages. So I'm sure I'm going to be investing in some of these real estate deals, but I'm looking for the right one. Another company is Templum. So they have already launched a few security tokens. One that I'm really excited about, that I think their focus is going to be over the next coming years, is IP, intellectual property. And you can go in here and read their news releases and articles and stuff like that. But what if you could have partial ownership in, say, an author's book sale, or some physical product that gets sold on those as seen on TV shows, right? Get royalties, stuff like that. I'm interested in those types of investments. The next platform is CoinList. So CoinList recently launched Ocean. So they're currently raising this. I'm not going to invest in this, but this is another one. Open Finance is a great one for international folks. So they are, as far as my last communication with them, not accepting U.S. investors for some reason, but they do have access right now to a few of the VC firms. You can get equity in some of the VC firms that have been raising capital in the space. Moving on, we've talked about Start Engine in the past. This is, I think, a great platform. They do all three types of filings, so Reg A, Reg D, and Reg CF. And again, go watch my security tokens basics video where I explain what that means. But if you're a non-accredited investor, this is where you can find deals for you, is places like Start Engine. And one thing I wanted to talk about too is, like, why would somebody even be interested in the security token space? And what is so attractive about all this? Why am I personally spending so much time doing deep research on this stuff? And it's the potential upside, right? So just to give you a little bit of context, my private investments I've made in private companies have way outperformed and grown my wealth way faster and bigger percentage gains than any kind of publicly traded instrument, the stock market or even real estate. Now, with that said, it's high risk, high reward, right? So whenever you're looking at investing in security tokens, if it's a real estate deal or a startup, right? Really, the security tokens, it's just another technology. The security token itself isn't really like an attractive investment. It's the investment behind the token. The token is just the tool that makes it easier to trade, right? So you still have to find good deals, but why would you be interested in investing in, say, early stage venture or private companies? Well, and I've got a little example here. So mostly everybody in the crypto space knows who Coinbase is. Now, a lot of people use Coinbase to buy and sell Bitcoin, but what if you could have invested early on in Coinbase? And one thing I like about, so this is a website called SharesPost, and SharesPost is basically an over-the-counter trading platform where you can buy and sell equity in private companies like Uber and Airbnb and a lot of the really massive companies that haven't gone public, meaning they haven't launched on a stock exchange where the average mom and pop investor can get access to that, right? And the problem nowadays is a lot of companies are staying private longer, meaning the big growth is happening in the private markets, which is limited to most of the time accredited investors, right? So again, here's an example of that. What if you invested in, say, the seed round or the first round of financing in Coinbase? Well, they raised, I don't know if you can see these numbers, but they basically raised $6 million at a 23 or call it a $25 million valuation, right? And then fast forward, so that was in 2013, right? So that was early on in the crypto space. Their last round here in 2018, so about 5 years later, they raised $300 million at an $8 billion with a B dollar valuation, right? That is the growth that you look for on the venture side, right? As an angel investor in traditional startups or as a security token investor, you're looking at really high risk because, again, most startups fail, but you're also looking at potentially really high reward, right? And Patrick Byrne, going back to T0, he did a presentation, which I'll link up in the show notes, talking about the growth potential and the size of a potential security token exchange, right? And basically, to give you the short version, there's about $1 trillion in value up for grabs between publicly traded assets, right? So follow me here, right? So there's the stock market, there's futures markets, and now there's these new kind of weird security token markets. All together in revenue and market cap, meaning value of these companies, there's about $1 trillion up for grabs, right? And I think over the next several years, we're going to see a lot of these security token exchanges fail. They're just going to get stomped out, but there's going to be a handful of them that are successful and see Coinbase-like growth, where they raise a few million or even a few hundred million and then have multi-billion-dollar valuations. That's the reason I'm so excited about security tokens is not only can you invest in different assets that are tokenized like real estate and art and all this other weird stuff, but you can actually invest and profit from the growth of the ecosystem itself, meaning the issuance companies, the exchanges, the tokenization platforms, right? All this ecosystem that goes around supporting it. And here's an example of what I mean by the security token ecosystem. You have different categories of companies. Most of them are startups, right? So like broker dealers, companies that are doing compliance, issuance platforms, right? Like Harbor is here. A lot of you guys know about like Polymath and Securitize. Republic is another crowdfunding platform. There's so many of these new startups. Over here on the trading and exchange side, you've got T0, Templum, Bancor, SharesPost, right? So again, not only can you invest in the assets that these companies list and create tokens for, but you can actually invest in these companies themselves, right? And again, that's why I'm so excited about exchanges, is because they're just cash cows, right? Like you can have a startup that says we're going to change the world by creating the decentralized blah, 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 or you can invest in the companies that are supporting that infrastructure, or both. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, we're in the very early stages of this, and I'm just now starting to make some investments in the space. I've spent months and months doing deep research. So if you know anybody that's doing anything really interesting in this space, feel free to reach out to me. And if you know anybody that's working on the accredited investor fiasco, also let me know about that. I am more than happy to spearhead that because, again, I think people getting access to private or early stage investments is where over the next several decades is where the growth is going to continue to be. It's already there, but I don't think it's going back to the old traditional models. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys, and invest wisely.